Will Riley might just be the biggest sleeper in the NBA draft.
Said it, I'm golden. Told you I'm shining. Had to break through. Plan perfect timing. Giving no hands.
So we're continuing our Miami Heat draft series today by talking about Will Riley, who is actually who the Ringer had mocked coming to the Miami Heat. And I'll be honest with you, off rip, I don't think I'm the biggest Will Riley fan, which is not surprising that the Ringer had him coming to us because they are founded by that bum, Bill Simmons, who literally wrote a book called The Book of Basketball, yet he knows nothing about basketball. That guy's an idiot. But anyways, you never know who the Heat might draft, so I figured today we'll at least learn a little bit about Will Riley. We've already discussed Liam McNeely, Rasheer Fleming, and Noah Asenge, so make sure you check out those videos as well. And don't worry, we'll get into everybody's favorites like Walter Clayton and Danny Wolf. We still got 36 days before the NBA draft, so drop some of your favorite prospects down in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get to a video on them. Shout out to VLNAL for telling me to talk about Will Riley. I believe he was the only person in my comments over like the last month to mention this name. But then again, I'm not exactly sure because when I went to my YouTube studio and searched Will Riley in the comments, I just got a bunch of comments about people saying, will Pat Riley do this or that or that? And the answer to almost all of those questions is no. Pat Riley will likely do nothing. But anyways, let's talk about Will Riley, who, of course, the Miami Heat pick at number 20 in this upcoming NBA draft. Now, to get into his measurements, because finally we got some accurate measurements because the NBA Combine was just a few days ago, and they uploaded all the official stuff to their website. So no more talking about guys who are actually 6'3", but were listed at 6'6" in college. No, I'm using the exact measurements. Now, Will Riley does have decent height to him. He is he's just over 6'8". He was like 6'8 and a quarter with a wingspan that's basically the same. His wingspan was about a half an inch longer than his height. So nothing crazy there. He's got good height, but not great size. He weighed in at only 185 pounds, but he is only 19 years old. So there's obviously a lot of potential to grow. So consider that when we talk about him the rest of this video. I'm certainly not saying he's a finished product, but he just has some way that he needs to grow. Now, he did play one season at Illinois, and they weren't bad last year. They were actually a 6th seed going into the tournament, but they lost in the second round to Kentucky. Now, at Illinois, he actually played with Kasparas Jakusionis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If y'all haven't heard about him, he's basically been consistently mocked in every draft from like 5 to 10. So he'll be one of the better players taking this in this upcoming draft. So he took most of their on-ball reps. So Will Riley, he is a forward, but he didn't get as much on-ball reps just because he was playing with someone who was much better than him, which I guess is good to see too, just because when he's in the league, obviously he's not going to be a very ball-dominant player. But at Illinois, the Heat have actually had some Illinois guys recently, Kendrick Nunn and Myers Leonard. So do with that information what you will. I just wanted to note that because Illinois is not a super historical basketball program. Their best player of all time is probably Darren Williams, but they still had some talents come out of their program. So it's not like we're getting a guy who played at some low mid-major school. No, Illinois is legit. Now, if you wanted to get into his numbers in his freshman season, played 35 games, about 26 minutes a night, averaged about 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. So not bad counting stats, which is why I wanted to bring up the fact that he played with Kasparas earlier, is because he didn't get the ball a lot. So to still average 12 points or 12, 13 points, not that bad. Obviously, the assist numbers aren't too high. And from what I read, playmaking is one of his specialties. But the assist numbers won't jump out at you because he wasn't their best playmaker, of course. But we'll kind of get into that a little bit later on. It's the field goal percentages here that really started to scare me because that's kind of the first place I looked when I started researching him. And maybe that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth from the jump because last year at Illinois, he only shot 43% from the field and 33. I mean, I'm rounding up there, so 32.6% from 3. That's not that good, especially was on 4 attempts tonight. So you would really like to see him get those numbers up. And then in the tournament where he played 2 games, inconsistent there as well. In the first game versus Xavier, he was very, very good. Shot 67%, had 22 points. But then in the next game versus Kentucky, he shot 1 of 7. He only scored 5 points that game. And I did read how once he was playing against a much better defense in Kentucky, he couldn't get to that dribble pull-up that he likes to do. So he's not a very athletic guy. If you're watching these highlights behind me, you could see he's almost always a below-the-rim finisher, which for a 6'8 guy, I don't love that either. But again, we're talking about the 20th pick in the draft. You're not going to get a perfect prospect. And Will Riley's actually been a guy that has been consistently mocked right around 20. When we talked about Rasheer Fleming and to a higher degree, Noah Asenge, I saw him mocked anywhere from like 14 to 26. Those guys were all over the place because I think they have a lot more potential. They're not necessarily as much of a known as Will Riley, although he is only 19 years old, because NBA Draft.net had him mocked at 19, Bleacher Report at 21. Of course, The Ringer had him right at 20 coming to Miami, and then Yahoo had him at 21, and Tankathon had him the lowest at number 25. So he's a guy that will be in that range for Miami, certainly. Now, as far as some player comps that I saw when coming across my research to kind of give you an idea of the type of player he is, I mostly saw a lot of young shooters. That's almost every comparison I saw. The one that I like the most is I saw Jalen Wells, of course, the rookie from Memphis. I know he's a rookie, he's young. Most of the comparisons for Will Riley were very young players. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, Jalen Wells, very good shooter last year for Memphis. Excellent defender. I'm not sure Will Riley will ever be the caliber defender that Jalen Wells is, but if his peak is like what Jalen Wells can be, then I would like that. But the other names we saw was Keshawn George, the shooter from the University of Miami, baby, but also from Washington, had an okay rookie season last year. I also saw Jed Howard, who, of course, is our guy, Jawan Howard's son. Hasn't really carved out a career for himself in the league yet with Orlando, but coming out of Michigan, he was an excellent shooter. He was known as a shooter. Again, same as Keshawn George. Another comparison I saw was Cam Reddish, another young player who came into the league known as a shooter. So it's just kind of weird. They're giving Will Riley all these young shooter comparisons when he only shot 33% from three in college. But there's some potential there. The one name that I did find very interesting is The Ringer actually listed Nikola Jovic. And I guess the reason for that is because Will Riley does have some height to him. Not as tall as Jovic, but at 6'8", he's relatively tall, and he does have a decent enough handle that we'll get into as well. But yeah, I think Nikola Jovic's potential is just way more. And then the final comparison that I saw for Will Riley that I do not like at all for obvious reasons, and you're going to know as soon as I tell you, is Allen Houston. If you're one of the younger Heat fans watching this video, maybe you don't know who Allen Houston is. I mean, I wasn't even born when Allen Houston did what Allen Houston did. But if you're not familiar, just look up Allen Houston, Miami Heat, and you'll see why he's probably Heat fans' least favorite player of all time. But now let's get into some of his strengths and weaknesses. We're going to go through who Kevin O'Connor listed for his strengths and weaknesses on his Yahoo article, but also I'll kind of share my opinion based off the research I did as well. Now, the first strength that they have is his drive game. They said he's a strong driver who can finish through contact, and the one thing that I noticed immediately from watching a few highlights is he's able to get to the rim with crafty moves, has a great spin move, has a nice crossover. So I like what I've seen from the dribble drive game. That's something that you can kind of compare to Noah Asenge because, you know, we're talking about someone who would be a backup forward on the Heat. Noah Asenge had a great drive game where a guy like Rasheer Fleming didn't. So compared to Rasheer, Will Riley's handle is probably the only thing that he has on him, but I don't think that's enough to make him a better prospect than Rasheer Fleming, just in my opinion, because, yes, he can get to the rim well, but then the very next strength that they have for Will Riley was shooting upside. Spoiler alert, one of his weaknesses is shooting. So how are you going to have shooting upside as a strength and then say shooting is a weakness? Like, I just think he needed to fill in another strength, so he decided to say upside. Like, what is there to show you that he has shooting upside? Like, he was a 71% free throw shooter in college, 72 if you want to round up there. Like, that's average. Now, it's not bad, so it shows that maybe he can be a capable shooter in the league, but I don't ever think that he'll have great shooting upside. I mean, they say that he's comfortable getting to his pull-ups, which is true. He can get to that midi pull-up in the turnaround game from the mid-range and behind the arc, but results are streaky. There has been games where he's got hot. He had a couple of 20-point games in college, so he's capable of getting hot, but again, he shot 33% from three on 4 attempts. Oh, man. Hey, listen, what y'all don't know is I just took like a 10-minute break because I started cramping up so bad. This is why I can't be recording videos after I hoop, because today we won like 9 straight games. So I never got a chance to sit and hydrate because, when you're winning, everyone on the bench is like, yo, hurry up, next game, check up. So I never got a chance to hydrate. So I'm doing it now. Make sure y'all subscribe because I'm recording this one through some pain. Anyways, I just had to let y'all know that in case you see that randomly mid-video my lips turn blue or my tongue from the Gatorade I was drinking. Just wanted that to be noted. Anyways, it's noted that Will Riley is a skilled, versatile passer. He has ability to find guys cutting with some nice one-hand passes, is able to throw the lob, driving kicks. All of these things I think are very important in the Heat offense because as a Heat team who doesn't and might not have a true point guard next season, of course, hopefully they find one, they kind of do this ball handling by committee where we've even seen guys like Jovic or Pelle Larsson come in off the bench or Kyle Anderson. And the way that they're able to generate looks is everybody moves without the ball, and then everyone can find those open guys off cuts going back door, which is actually the next skill, the next strength that they have for Will Riley also, is that he's great with off-ball movements. So that kind of goes with the whole playmaking thing. It says he's great timing for cuts and awareness to relocate behind the arc. And that kind of reminds me of Pelle Larsson too. So if you don't have a true point guard, which this should not be a reason to not go get one. They need a true point guard. But if they don't have one, it would be nice to have another guy with a high IQ that knows how to play without the ball, because that's how you get these easy relief buckets. I mean, how many times did we see a guy like Pelle Larsson? He's not going to have plays drawn for him. He gets his points by moving without the ball, finding the open space, and then guys like Kyle Anderson and Nikola Jovic, or if Kevin Love was playing, they find those guys, sitting in the dunker spot to get some easy looks. So he's a high IQ player, and I'll give him that. And I do think that's important when you're looking at a guy to be a complementary player, because of course he's not going to take away shots from Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo. But when he gets the ball, you want him to be able to make the right read to find the players that are better than him. But that's where the strengths end. As the weaknesses, obviously they have shooting. It says, to my opinion, all of his looks don't really look the same to me in terms of his form. I feel like his base is very inconsistent if you're watching some of the highlights behind me when they get to the shooting ones. But I feel like he rushes a few. Sometimes it looks like his follow through isn't super, dynamic in terms of, it looks a little rigid at times to me. I don't think it's terrible. I wouldn't classify him as an ugly jumper. It's just not super consistent to me. But I do think if he got, especially in the Heat's development staff, they have a history of turning guys or helping them develop their jump shots. We saw it with Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow for a period of time, and then he forgot how to shoot. But I would trust him to really develop that jumper. And of course, if he can, well, then he would be he could be a rotation player in this league for a long time. But at this point, it's still a weakness in his game. And then the other weakness that he's listed, which is actually probably the most important reason why I don't want him, it says his defense. He has good height, but he's not very small. Doesn't have a big wingspan. A guy like Rasheer Fleming is 6'9" with a 7'5" wingspan. 240 pounds. You're not pushing that around. But a guy like Will Riley is going to get pushed all over the place. And I guess for that reason is why we saw Rasheer Fleming go in some mocks as high as like 14 or 15. But yeah, it's just, he's not ever going to be a good defender because he's also not very quick laterally. He's not going to be good on ball or off ball. And that is the opposite of Noah Asenge, because Asenge was very good off ball. So as far as this fit on the Miami Heat, I don't really think he fits. I think he's a pretty one-dimensional player, and I don't think he has the upside of a guy like Rasheer Fleming or Noah Asenge for the reasons we just mentioned. When I was reading the Ringer's bio for why they had him mocked to the Miami Heat, their reasoning was, and I quote, "because he's a tough-minded player and seeks challenges, which is a fit for the Heat organization," which, I got to be honest, I just think that's lazy writing, which again, it's Bill Simmons' network. What do you expect? But yeah, that's not a good reason to draft the guys, because he is smart and tries hard. Like, there is better options out there in this loaded class. Because in my opinion, kind of reminds me of a 6'8" Jaime Jaquez. I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe with a slightly better pull-up game and a little bit better handle. But think about it. Both guys crafty inside. Both guys have good moves inside. They have a relatively high basketball IQ in terms of knowing how the defense is going to react and you being able to adjust it on the fly. But if you can't shoot, you can't shoot. I do think at this current state, Will Riley's a little bit of a better shooter than Jaime, but regardless, the fact that we could even sit here and try to compare the two, that for me is enough of a reason to say, yeah, he's probably not a great fit on this Heat team. I mean, the Heat need some bench scoring. I think Will Riley has potential to get some points in the NBA, maybe be a 9 to 10 point a game guy at his peak. And of course, because the Heat's bench last year was supposed to be, the scoring punches were supposed to be Terry Rozier and Jaime Jaquez. Neither one of those guys worked out. But if that's the case and the Heat wanted to get a scorer at pick number 20, I think there's better guys out there. I think Liam McNeely's a better option. And truthfully, I don't really like Liam McNeely that much either. Now, as far as his fit with Nikola Jovic, even, because you're talking is your backup big off the bench. I think Jovic will do a lot of ball handling this year off the bench as well. Like Noah Asenge, he's not as clean a fit just because he can't be an off-ball player. Jovic can't drive and kick to him because he's not a reliable shooter. Whereas a guy like Rasheed Fleming was. That's why I think Rasheed Fleming so far is probably my favorite prospect out of the 4 videos that we did. So yeah, I just don't see a high upside with Will Riley, nor do I see him as a ready-to-win now player. So I'll pass. I'm good on him. But like we said in the intro, I just wanted to talk about him because you never know if the Heat will take him. And I kind of want to get a video out on every potential prospect. So when the draft is in 36 days, if the Heat still have their pick and it wasn't sent to Phoenix or hopefully Milwaukee, if you know where I'm getting at, if it wasn't sent to one of those 2 teams by them, I do want to at least have some background and share the information with you guys on who the Heat select. So yeah, that's really all I got to say for this video. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe because all the support is greatly appreciated. I'm on the grind to hit 8,000 subs, so make sure to hit that button if you did not already. That being said, I'll see you on the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need that head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.